Hello, friends. Welcome back to the bench. Happy 4th of July, the Independence Day. Our patient today is 86A. That misfires on cylinder number 1. We have a nice handwritten note. 2008 Subaru Outback. So, we shall fix it. And while we're fixing it, I've prepared two subjects for us today. One a little heavy, touching on politics a little bit, just a little bit, not much. And the other one very light one. Since it's Independence Day today, most of us don't work on Independence Day, and I'm off from my day job. But you're never off from your work that you that you do outside work, right? I worked on a farm for a little while, and there's no days off. The animals need to eat every day. You can tell the animal, you don't eat today because we don't work today. Every day you have to work. And where I come from, meaning Poland, it's relatively a religious country, Catholic country. Maybe not as much so as it used to be, but people frown upon other people working on Sundays and that kind of stuff, because it's a religious thing. You don't argue about religion. It's that's your religion. That's it. No discussion needed. So sometimes you just have to deal with that. So, well, today is not a religious holiday. It's more of a political holiday. This is the day we celebrate the independence from British Empire, which was, it was not fair. Let's just call it that way. All right. After all, the colonists had to cross the ocean, which was a kind of a big deal back then. It's a little less so nowadays, obviously. Well, nowadays it's just 6, maybe 8 hour flight, and you cross the ocean. Back then it was weeks, maybe even months, and depending on which direction you're going. So it was quite a thing to cross the Atlantic. Not to mention, then you had to survive in the world where everything has to be built from scratch, pretty much. Then you have to kind of survive with the natives of the land, and that was a lot of drama as well. But the main reason why I wanted to speed it up too much. I forgot the Captain tape. So, independence from the empire. The reason we wanted independence, by we, I mean, we the people, right? I wasn't there. Even if I were born in this country, I still wouldn't be there. But the colonists did not want to adhere to the rule of the monarch, because it was fundamentally unfair when we just either elect, or you are usually in monarchy, you are born into the power, with the presumption that you are a better human than the rest of us, and you shall have absolute power. So everything you do is, well, what you do is the law. If the monarch does it, it's not illegal. You know who said those words? Well, not exact those words, but there was a president that said those words, and we'll get to that. But that was fundamentally not fair. Not to mention, that particular monarch was not very good monarch. Because I'm sure there are some monarchies that actually work for people. Because you presume that, or you rely on higher morality and ethics of the person in power. And if that is the case, then yeah, that could work. Right? You have the king that really takes care of his people and his country and his kingdom. And and everybody's happy, everybody's got everything they need, and that's a happy kingdom. But what if you have a king that just cares about himself, nothing else, and you have to pay his bills and work for free and stuff like that? So, depending on the case, this could be something good, and it could be quite the opposite. And the monarch back then, around 1776, supposedly was one of those not great ones. So, the colonists in New World revolted and took their land and declared independence. Simple as that. That is what we celebrate now. The American experiment, as it used to be called. I mean, it's still called that. Because that was kind of a new idea. By the people, for the people, right? No one is above the law. No monarchies. Elected officials, presidents. That was all relatively new concepts. Just a couple hundred years ago. And here we are, a couple hundred years later, and we have our first major issue that appeared a couple days ago, which is the declaration that the president cannot be prosecuted for official acts. Which means, in my view, nowadays, we probably should refer to the president, His Majesty the President. I know. And this is something that surprised me, like how can that even be? Because as you know, I'm an immigrant, right? And I was studying for the test to become a citizen. And one of the questions is, what is the rule of law? The answer is, no one is above the law, right? Some of us sign the laws, but we all have to obey them, right? So whether you're the president or the police officer or some general in the army or anything, the same laws apply to you as they apply to everybody else. That is the foundation of the system. That's why it's a question on the test for citizenship. Sounds good. So now, how come we can just change or sign the law that violates that law, right? I was always under the impression that you can't, just like the prisoners uh, in prison can work, right? And they get paid. Well, they get paid, like cents per hour, so next to nothing. But the reason they have to be paid at least 1 cent an hour is because slavery is illegal. So doesn't matter if you're a prisoner or whoever. The slavery, the man cannot own another man in this country since that was signed into law. So it was my understanding that you can't do that. Right? You can't sign the law that violates already existing law. But for some reason that is the case, right? So now we're in quite a kerfuffle because repercussions of that are relatively big. I would say huge. Now the president has pretty much the absolute power because, okay, the president cannot be prosecuted for the official acts, but official acts is a bit vague, in my opinion, meaning everything can be an official act. You can find reasoning, behind every decision to explain it as an official act, for which you cannot be prosecuted. And again, we're back to the morality and ethics of the person that holds that power. It can be used for good, right? Now Biden could, cancel student debt, which no one really, anyone that understands those hard, complex economical problems, or the economics and stuff, always said that this is never going to happen, because it's not exactly Biden's money, right? So someone owns that debt, and that might be a collateral for investments or whatever, and suddenly you say that money doesn't exist. So it's like someone took your money suddenly, and because reasons, right? So I never thought this would actually happen, and not because I understand it. I rely on smart people who understand those problems. I don't myself, but that was my understanding, that this will never happen because of those simple reasons. It's somebody's money. You can't just wave it away and say this money doesn't exist now. I mean, I guess you could, but who's gonna prove that? But now it's actually feasible. It's an official act, so current president could do that, His Majesty the President. So if you have the position of power where the primary requirement is high morals, eventually you're gonna have a person that will just try to abuse that power. So that goes against that whole foundation that we hold each other accountable. None of us is above anyone else, right? Everyone has to obey the same laws. And now that has changed. Now, if you're old enough to remember Nixon administration, you probably immediately recognize the words, "If the president does it, it's not illegal." That was Nixon's defense. But now, it actually happened. It is actually the case. If the president does it, it's not illegal. It's the law. So the president is the law. It's exactly what monarchy is. So have we abandoned that golden rule that no one is above the law? And for what purpose? What exactly are we getting from it? The other thing is former President Trump's sentencing was scheduled for June. What was it? July 11th, I think. And now it has been moved to September. Was it? Yeah, I think September, somewhere in September. And the reason is because of this decision of the Supreme Court. And again, I don't understand that. Because my understanding was that the law doesn't work backwards, right? If you drive on the road, it's the 70-mile-an-hour limit, and you record yourself, and the next day they change the limit to 40 miles an hour, and someone sees your recording, and you get a ticket, right? Because now it's 40 miles an hour. So you broke the law as of now, even though you did it before, and you did it while the limit was lower. That was my understanding of the fundamentals of law. But I guess I was wrong. So now this decision affects current cases, future cases. So now the former president is innocent of misappropriating funds because we've changed the law now, right? Well, he still did it when the law was what the law was, right? That was my understanding. It turns out I really misunderstood the fundamentals of the law and how the governing actually works. So now, following that logic, Nixon should be, I don't know. Well, he was never prosecuted, was he? He didn't go to jail or anything, right? He just resigned before impeachment, right? If I remember correctly, I never really followed that history that closely. But so now he has to be declared as he was right. Yeah, if the president does it, it's not illegal. And out of all days in the year when that could have happened, we picked like a few days before the Independence Day. Isn't that crazy? People say it's ironic. I would say it's more crazy than ironic. What is wrong with my tip now? It's not even about the politics, actually, because, I don't care who's the president, if they have the unlimited power, pretty much. Well, imagine the official act of the president is to sell the military secrets to the highest bidder, to our enemies. Would that be okay? Well, it wouldn't be okay, but the president would not suffer any consequences, is the point. And the next day he could just leave the country and see you later, suckers. And there's nothing you can do, because that was an official act. It does not sound good to me. 4th of July used to be one of my favorite holidays in the United States. Halloween is my favorite, because I have a young kid. So once the kid gets too old for trick or treating, it will no longer be my favorite holiday. But at the moment it is, and but it's cold because it's November, right? End of November. So I don't know. It's cold, unless you live in Australia or somewhere down south. That's why 4th of July was my, well, maybe not second favorite, but somewhere around there, because of the weather. Primarily. Now it's not quite so much. If we just make, after 2 centuries, we just make a big step back. And a final point is, if we if our primary or our core value is that no one is above the law, but we have 9 unelected officials just making those decisions behind closed door and being held accountable to no one, how did we end up with that system? And I've heard a lot of allegations against justices for taking bribes and stuff like that. How is that legal? I don't get it. But just a couple days ago, it turned out, it just hit me that I completely misunderstood the foundation of this country. And I'm not allowed to complain about that, because you can complain about that because you were born in this country. It's not like you chose it, right? It's your country. It's, nothing you can do with that. I mean, you can leave and live somewhere else, but so you can complain. I cannot, at least should not, complain, because I made a conscious decision to immigrate to this country, and I have to make a conscious decision and put in some effort to become a citizen of this country. So it wouldn't be of good taste if I started complaining about the country, right? And you could say, well, if you don't like it, leave, right? And you would be right. Well, you came here just to complain how bad this country is? That doesn't make sense. So it's not like I'm complaining, but it's more like I didn't understand. I didn't know what I was doing, basically. I knew, because every empire ever built by people has fallen, right? So yeah, I'm fully aware that United States empire will fall eventually and will be replaced by some other empire, which in turn will fall the same way. But I honestly did not think it would happen during my life. I thought maybe another century or so. But we're dangerously close to losing that, because you might criticize presidents that got the United States into wars and stuff, and yeah, the country was divided because of the war. Every war divided this country into people pro-war and anti-war, but at least we had an enemy. So the country that has an enemy is stronger than the country that does not have enemies, because then enemies are created within. Is this the reason? Should we just should the US just start another war so we can unite again? Because imagine how politicians behave nowadays, especially, oh my God, the even people running for the seat of the president, the presidency of the United States, and expressing extreme dissatisfaction with how country is, and you know, it's unheard of. It was unheard of, at least until nowadays. Now it seems to be normal. Every politician is complaining like, oh, our country is such a bad country. Like, oh my God, how can you call yourself a patriot and say something like that? Unheard of. And it's kind of like becoming a new normal. And it might not lead us to anything good. It might basically just end the United States empire. And it's not going to be China or Russia defeating us. It's going to be ourselves just dividing or basically demolishing our own house. Because we can't make up our mind who's the head of the family. Well, let's hope, because since Roe v. Wade was overturned a few decades after being ruled on, let's hope in few decades this also will be overturned, and maybe will be normal again. Alright, enough depressing subjects. Let's talk about subject number 2, which is, you guessed it, Sarah Boone. Finally, our wait is over. After 4 years, over 4 years. That's longer than the presidency in this country. After long 4 years, we are finally approaching the trial of Sarah Boone. Now, if you don't know who that is, you're lucky. You're a lucky man. So let me introduce Miss Boone to you. The reason I follow that case is because it's extremely unusual, and it is extremely satisfying when people are held accountable, especially people who thought they are above everyone else. Sarah Boone is like a textbook narcissist. She's not only a textbook narcissist, she believes that she's a pillar in her community. She excels at everything, her words. She's a great mother to her son, which is objectively false. Objectively false. And she's just this awesome, great, wonderful person. Now, what she did, well, she put her boyfriend in the suitcase and she fell asleep. and she doesn't know what happened. Her words again. It feels like something's missing in that story, right? You put someone in the suitcase and you fall asleep? Yeah, we had a couple glasses of wine. But that's what happened. And she would probably get away with it if it wasn't for her narcissism. She recorded the incident on her phone. Her boyfriend begging her to let him out of the suitcase, and she just laughing and basically refusing to do so. And perfect 4K, because she had an iPhone, I think. Relatively modern iPhone. It was 4 years ago, so I don't know which iPhone, but it was relatively modern one. And yeah, jobless, both of them jobless. Drinking a lot. They were big, heavy drinkers. But there you have the money for the phone, right? Your kid doesn't have shoes, you don't have a job, but you have a new iPhone. That is the kind of person Sarah Boone is. So obviously she thought that she's gonna get away with it, so she just completely buried her defense during the interrogation. That interrogation, yes, it is available, and the videos she recorded are also available. If you're interested, I do not recommend watching the videos, but her interrogation is something else, because throughout the entire interrogation she thinks that she can talk her way out of second-degree murder. That's what makes the case so interesting. That's like next level narcissism. Even Daryl Brooks has nothing on her. You know? Even Daryl Brooks wasn't as much narcissistic as Sarah Boone. So the trial was scheduled for January 2021 or 2020. I think 21, maybe. And here we are in mid-2024, and finally the trial is scheduled. I actually don't remember what's the scheduled date for the trial, but the question is, how did it take so long? It took so long because, as per constitution, as per laws of this land, the defendant has the right for an attorney, and it needs to be effective counsel, right? It's not just, kangaroo court that, you get someone who is alive and breathing and maybe awake from time to time, and that's your attorney, that's your defense, that's your defense counsel. No, it needs to be an effective counsel. So if the counsel is ineffective, then that's the grounds for mistrial. So we don't want that, right? Which means the counsel needs to work with the client and keep the client's best interests. But here we're talking about the case of you know, very serious crime. The most serious crime you can have, right? It's not that you stole something or, you know, or trespassed or, you know, totaled someone's car. No, a man lost his life for no particular reason, at least not the reason that can be articulated by the defense. So in this case, the defense counsel just has to, you know, work to make sure that she doesn't get death penalty, right? That she gets her first shake. That's pretty much it. I don't know, not much more to it. There's no lawyer that can get you out of this. You done messed up. And now you need to pay the price. Simple as that. But Sarah believes that she should not be prosecuted and she should not be punished because it was unintentional. She didn't intend for this to result in the death of her boyfriend. Oh, yeah, I thought I saw a bridge there. So now it's gonna be pretty interesting to see what's gonna happen. But again, what took so long? Well, Sarah got her first attorney, then the second attorney, then the third attorney, then fourth, then fifth, then sixth, then seventh, then eighth, and the eighth attorney, just like all of the attorneys. Okay, so where was I? Attorney number 8 resigned or moved to withdraw due to irreconcilable differences. And that is the reason 7 previous attorneys also moved to withdraw. Now with this judge though, because before it was a different judge, now we're on the different judge. And this judge, on her last hearing, made an impression on me that he's more of a no-nonsense judge. Because enough is enough, wouldn't you agree? 8 attorneys, and every single one of them says that, well, I can't work with that lady. Get me out of here. She doesn't listen, and she basically, as I understand it, she basically wants the attorney to say, yeah, you didn't do anything wrong, you didn't know, you didn't want to do that, so yeah, let's just tell the judge that you didn't mean to, and you can go home. That's probably what she wants. And obviously the attorneys saying that no, that's not gonna happen. So on her last hearing, she basically accused her attorney of lying to her, and the judge, and violating her constitutional rights. So the judge said, what exactly is the lie? What did she lie about? And which constitutional rights in particular are being violated? That to me sounded like, okay, lady, make your case. Tell me what exactly was the lie. And normally when you're asked about something like that, you should have a clear answer. They told me A and it was actually B, so I've been lied to. But her answer was, what was the lie? The process of getting a bond. That was the lie. But what exactly about that process of getting a bond? As far as I know, if you're on the murder charge in Florida, there is no bond. As far as I know, you can get a bond on murder charges. I know that from the case of Michael Dunn. That was a trigger-happy guy who he just, well, he shot at the car, or at least that was his version. I shot at the car. No. But there were people inside, and one of them lost his life. And again, for no particular reason. At least I didn't see the reason. Anyways, I don't think she's getting a bond either way, based on everything, the accusation and the charge. Based on the charges, she's not getting a bond. So if that is the case, right, and she tells her attorney that, I want a bond, and why would she even want a bond? She won't be able to pay it. If she had money, she would have hired an attorney. And then she would have what she wanted. Because from what I hear, she just wants to be treated like the public attorney has no other clients, just Sarah Boone, and has to spend all his or her time working with Sarah. And obviously that's not gonna happen. No matter what your charges are and who you are, public attorneys are largely overworked. So no attorney has a luxury of working with just one client. And some cases require more work than the others. Sarah's case, I don't think it requires a lot of work because it's pretty much open shut case. We have the video footage. And not like in most cases you have some kind of security footage, grainy, from 2 blocks away. She's holding the phone in her hand while committing this crime that she's now being prosecuted for. So no, you're not getting a bond. You're getting a jumpsuit for 25 years at least. That's what you're getting. So, Daryl Brooks's trial was relatively entertaining because he pulled like every trick in the book, sovereign citizens and semantics, calling the plaintiff, the state of Wisconsin, to the stand. Plus, that was in Wisconsin. Here, we are in Florida. It's a lot different. And you're getting no-nonsense judge. That does not sound good. Or, it sounds great to me, but it doesn't really give Sarah much hope of pulling off her manipulative tactics. And you can see from, because she writes letters to the public. She even expressed that she has fans. I don't know if she does, maybe she does. There are people who are kinda into those things, and sometimes the people serving those sentences or being sentenced to death, they gain popularity, and some people write them and support them and that kind of stuff. It happens. So maybe she does have fans, who knows. But she pulls off these manipulative tactics to first acquire information from the attorney, and then attack the attorney, questioning ethics and morality of the attorney. That is pretty weak. But that's what she does, and she's been doing that all her life. And I think Scott Sharp, if you don't know who that is good. The channel is True Crime Loser. If you're into true crime genre, you definitely know of him. But he put it really well, talking about Sarah, is that in her mind she thinks, like the example he gave, like she's renting a car and she wants something, and and she's so obnoxious that finally the guy just gives her what she wants. And in her mind she thinks like, I'm such a great person, I can get everything done, and in reality the guy just wants to get rid of you, like, take that extra $5 discount and get out of my store. Because in her mind she still thinks she refuses to take accountability, basically. It would have gone a long way if now, after 4 years, her defense was that, I don't know, she abused alcohol and her boyfriend was abusive, and he's got pretty good rap sheet himself, so that wouldn't be too far-fetched or not too hard to convince the jury that he was the instigator, and battered spouse syndrome. It could fly, but she would have to take accountability and just say that that I'm not that person anymore. I was that person then, but I've changed, and I'm really sorry, and I want to return to society and fix what I broke and repay the society. I have plans to work for charity and community service every day, or 20 hours a week, whatever. That would have probably at least convinced enough jurors to at least give her the possibility of parole. Or actually, that's not what jurors actually do. They don't consider punishment for the crime. They just have to consider guilty or not guilty, right? Do you have reasonable doubt that the defendant is innocent? But she instead does the exact opposite, and just thinks that every single person involved in this situation is in conspiracy to take away her constitutional rights, and she's an innocent victim in all this. And everybody just has to pat her on the back and express their support to poor old Sarah. Poor little Sarah. So that's not gonna fly, and in general, people don't like people like that. Nobody likes people like that, right? So there's no way jurors will go easy on her and and declare her innocent. And actually, because the case is, I think, second degree murder. I think that's the charge. I was thinking, normally you get, for crimes like that, you get manslaughter charges because they are easier to win, right? That's why Michael Draka, I don't know if you guys remember that case. It was very divisive case. But he got manslaughter charges, not murder, because I don't think they would be. Yeah, if the charge was for the first or second degree murder, I don't think he would have been guilty. I think he would walk. That's why the case was manslaughter. And in Sarah's case, I was expecting that it's going to be manslaughter charge, but instead they gave her murder charge. Which means the DA, the prosecution, they have enough evidence to prove that. It's not too far-fetched. And pretty much her only defense is, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to go upstairs. I didn't mean to leave him there. I didn't. And actually, I do believe her. I do believe her that she didn't mean to kill him, because if she did, she loses her toy that she can control, because she's a control freak, and probably a little bit of support from his side, like financial maybe support, but she relied primarily on the husband's alimony. She didn't even have to, because as I said, she believes she's an outstanding mother to her child, which she's supposed to have every weekend and alternative Wednesdays or whatever, and she's almost never picks up the kid because she's always drunk, or she calls the husband and says, pick up the kid because I want to go out drinking. I want to get wasted, so come pick up the kid. Basically, that's her being an outstanding mother. So yeah, I don't think she meant to actually get rid of her boyfriend. She didn't want him to die. But the bottom line is, the guy is dead, and he died the most brutal way. Imagine being locked in a suitcase, slowly suffocating. It's gotta be horrible. But she's the victim here. Poor Sarah. That's why the trial is gonna be so satisfying, because now, after 8 attorneys, Sarah is forced to defend herself. She's going pro se. Not by choice. Well, that's what she says, not by choice. But I think, I was thinking, it's, maybe she is that smart. Maybe we're all wrong. Because I thought she's a not very bright person. She thinks she's smart, but she's not. But here we are. For 4 years, she evaded justice. 4 years. Well, there's got to be something to it, right? Daryl Brooks couldn't do that, right? He went pro se, but he didn't manage to delay the trial for 4 years, and somehow Sarah did. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she is as smart as she thinks she is. But here we are. Now we're gonna not only see all the evidence, because we do have a lot of evidence publicly available, because it's a public office, that everything is publicly available. All right. So we have a lot of the evidence available, but we're not only going to see every single piece of evidence, and some is not available because it's going to be the the testimony of experts and that kind of stuff. Obviously, it doesn't exist yet. It's gonna be testimony during the trial, so that evidence doesn't exist yet. But not only we're gonna see all that evidence, but we're gonna see Sarah Boone being a lawyer. I did not expect that. And the legal channels expressed that in this case a judge should have given her one last chance, with the advice that you either make it work with this final attorney number 9, or you're representing yourself. So that's going to be your choice. If you can't make it work with this attorney, you're making the decision to go pro se. And I think the reason everybody thought that was that this is pretty serious, because she could use that, because she didn't waive her right to a counsel. And if she does not get a counsel without waiving the right, she could use that to seek mistrial, right? And maybe delay another 4 years or another 10 years, and maybe she'll just spend the rest of her life in jail, in pre-trial detention, basically, because she's still, until proven guilty, she's innocent. So she doesn't have a record yet. She's not being incarcerated. She's just being held in pre-trial detention. And difference between jail and prison, if you don't know, because some people just use those words interchangeably, that you go to jail for 20 years. You don't go to jail for 20 years. That's what prison is for. In pre-trial detention, in jail, you are innocent. You're not incarcerated. You're not an inmate. You're being held until the judge can declare you guilty, or the jury can declare you guilty, and the judge gives you a sentence, and then you have to serve that sentence. That's when you become incarcerated. That's when you are actually a prisoner. So until then, she's innocent, right? Until proven guilty. So the conditions in jail are very much different from conditions in prison. So she's in a good place right now compared to where she's going to be after she's sentenced. So it's absolutely understandable that she wants to stay there as long as she can, because that will also be credited, so that those 4 or almost 5 years that she spent in jail, that's gonna count towards the prison sentence. So if she gets 25 years, she only needs to serve 20. So maybe that's what she's doing. But the judge said enough is enough. And honestly, I think after attorney number 5 or 6, that should have happened, in my opinion. Because come on, every single attorney resigns for the same reason, and that's not her fault. Obviously, no. There's a limit. There should be a limit, but it's not defined by the law. So now we have this interesting situation, like what is going to be a fallout? Because now she's pretty much forced to represent herself, and that's never good for the defendant. Who said that? I think I don't want to kill it. or I don't want to mislabel it, but he who represents himself has an idiot for a client. It's never a good idea to represent yourself. Even if you're an attorney. Alex Murdoch didn't represent himself, right? Because he's a lawyer, right? Although I think he worked, different. He worked different kind of law, not criminal law. So either case, he was not a criminal lawyer, but as a lawyer, he knows the law, or at least enough. He could have represented himself, but obviously, he's not a dumb guy. He didn't want to represent himself, because it's always bad choice. So having that in mind, if the court suddenly, well, not suddenly, but if the court declares that, hey, you don't get a lawyer, right? You're on your own. That's kind of a hard sell. Meaning, there could be a fallout from that. And obviously, the court of public opinion, now Sarah's gonna use that to, accuse everybody of everything, how unfair this all is. And she writes those long letters that she writes to the judge, but obviously the judge has to submit that as evidence, or, it's got to go into the box, which is available to the public. So anyone can request the access to that, and pay a couple bucks for the processing fees and all that kind of stuff, and it's available, right? So that's who she writes to. She doesn't actually write to the judge. She writes to the public, because she wants to win the public's opinion. And she even expressed that. She's writing to her potential jurors. How is that allowed? I have no idea. What was it, Casey Anthony? No. Because she got away. She got away with with horrible stuff. But no, the Dalia DiPolito, that was the one. That was also in Florida. And she went through the trial, declared by the jury guilty. But one of the jurors wrote on some social media, just wrote, "I'm on this case, LOL," something like that, right? Which you're not allowed to do. Well, there are. I imagine the main reason is that you can't tell anyone which case you're working on, or because you're opening yourself to, I don't know, potentially someone trying to bribe you, maybe, or influence your decision, something like that. So that's why you're not allowed to disclose that. Also, you're not allowed to talk about the case outside of the courtroom. You're not allowed to talk about the case with one another, with jurors, until you have to make the decision. So that was declared a mistrial. So she spent another years in house arrest, right? So she evaded the jail or prison for a long time, and finally, after a few years, she was retrialed and sent to prison. But she evaded, and all that time counted towards her sentence. So, the good part of her sentence she just spent at home, wearing an ankle bracelet. So, the same thing might happen here. Meaning, Sarah might find another loophole. No, I didn't want to defend myself. I didn't want to represent myself. I wanted an attorney. But attorneys don't like me, even though I'm such a wonderful person and I excel at everything. And outstanding mother to my son. And she might pull something off there. So that's why everybody thought that a judge would be more explicit giving her that option, or giving her ultimatum that you make it work with this one last attorney, number 9, or you're going per se. But no. And the judge actually, because she had a different judge, Judge Wooden. I don't remember what the current judge name is. Doesn't matter. And I don't know why the judge has changed. But the judge went through everything, the entire history of the case, from the very beginning. He reviewed all the notes of previous judge, all the footage, interrogation footage, I bet. He did his due diligence before making this decision, because obviously he's aware that it's a big one. You can't take this lightly. Because yeah, that is, after all, we're talking about a woman's life now, alright? And she needs to get her fair shake. Yeah, nobody likes her. We just want to see the culmination of this case, obviously, but she needs to get her fair shake. Otherwise, it's pointless. And otherwise you give Sarah the ammunition to abuse the system even further. And yeah, that's definitely an abuse, that what she's doing to the legal system. In my view, that is the abuse. But based on all the evidence available, she's the textbook abuser. That's why I don't think she meant for her boyfriend to die. She didn't mean to kill him. I believe that. Yeah. Because what are you gonna torture afterwards? Once you kill your boyfriend, and who else is gonna put up with your nonsense, right? So yeah. But you still did it. The man is dead. Someone's gotta go to jail. Well, to prison. Someone's gotta pay, and there was only 2 of you. So yeah. Well, I'm very curious how the trial is gonna go. Yeah, someone's made a joke like Daryl Brooks should represent her from his prison cell via Zoom. I think it's gonna be more interesting than Daryl Brooks. Oh, and imagine because I don't think I'm gonna watch the trial. I'm not that interested. I'm gonna wait for all those true crime genre channels on YouTube to report on the trial and give me the maybe 30-minute video that summarizes the trial, more interesting moments and stuff like that. But I don't know, maybe this will be the first one I will watch in the entirety. Actually, I have watched the entire trial of Nancy Brophy, and almost the majority of the trial of Chandler Halderson. So it wouldn't be exactly the first, but thank you. Okay. Alrighty, I think we're done here. Just as Sarah's case. Today is the 4th, so I will not be able to ship it off today because everything is closed. So this will be shipped tomorrow, 2nd day UPS Air, or UPS 2nd day Air. Alrighty, Jim, thank you very much for your business. Your ECM will be on its way back to you in the matter of 24 hours. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I shall see you in the next one.